All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you all. I'm excited too, and there's a special air of excitement today because it is Kim's birthday. Kim McAllister. You see a little picture of her there in the upper right-hand screen. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're just listening, you should know that she is my lovely associate. She is the news person with whom we could not do this show. Without whom, I should say, we could... you know, you get it. I couldn't do the show without her. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, is it nice to Kim Day? Is that what
wait.
Can you let him finish?
Let me finish, please. Although we'd like to try to do the show without her. Yes, thank you. All right.
It's too good to be true.
Yeah, I don't want on your birthday to think you're off the hook. We're not about goodness and niceness here. We're about the grim realities here, Kim. That's what this is about. Yeah.
You just don't get it, do you?
Yeah, you don't get it, Kim. This is a tough love birthday, isn't it, Albert? Yeah. Albert is here also, everyone.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, Ken.
We are welcoming
You didn't hear Mark
all of
say
you.
that, did you? I didn't hear Mark say that.
Oh, my goodness. Look, I'd like to dwell on your birthday. You're going to do a big thing on your after party live for your birthday? I mean, that's your show. You can really, rock it out.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
The After Party Live is happening on the After Party Live channel right after this show ends. But I don't want to ask how old you are. It's none of my business. To me, you're ageless.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah. And you got a lot of love in the chat, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming. We have quite the show today. We will start with the doctor. The good doctor is in today. It's our segment called Vital Signs. There are huge changes at the CDC, at NIH, and in the vaccine approval and distribution world of RFK Jr., and our doctor, Dr. Daignault, he's an ER physician, and he's good enough to come through here with doctor's hours every couple of weeks to answer questions. Actually, I have a question from a listener that I had asked and sort of solicited questions from listeners, and I got one, and we'll share that with the doctor in just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're going to talk about the Elon Musk, Donald Trump breakup. I'll tell you, my predictions very seldom wrong. I don't make a lot of them. I have a bold prediction about how this is going to end. And it will end. This is not the end. But it sure is an explosive second act. It's almost like another divorce. Donald Trump's had 3 of them, right? This would be
used to it by now.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It was almost like the universe knew that I needed a little gift for my birthday and served up this delicious breakup.
It is really wild.
I mean,
the fur is flying, as is said.
What is it? I don't usually delight in other people's misfortune. What is that? Schadenfreude?
Yeah,
But
Schadenfreude.
this does feel delicious, I have to
Schadenfreude, I
say.
think it's
Schadenfreude, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of German, which is the Schadenfreude, I think is a German phrase or German word. Trump, I thought, embarrassed himself and the country when he. This was going on while we were on the air yesterday, I think. The chancellor from Germany was talking about, this is D-Day, everyone, and D-Day is a significant day. Really the liberation of Europe followed D-Day and the Normandy invasion, as you're aware, and it's always been a day of solemnity, a day of celebration, if those two things can coexist. I mean, a day of monumental historic event being remembered in so many different ways, so many huge sacrifices on the part of Americans and allied troops to free Europe from the fascism and cruelty and horror of the death camps that the Nazis ran across Europe, not just in Germany, across Europe. And the it's been a day of reflection. It's been certainly a day with so much wrapped up in the way of patriotism also, right? So the German chancellor was meeting with Trump yesterday, and he noted that. Like he was noting, and he did it in that way that you have to do it with Trump, which is to sort of include him or some reference to, and this is, we're really grateful to you and Americans, et cetera. Like you have to mention Trump specifically just to keep him engaged. And this clip has gone viral now because of Trump's reaction. It's clearly Trump doesn't get the significance of D-Day. I think he skipped some D-Day. What was in Trump season 1, he skipped the...
It was a major milestone for D-Day, and he was supposed to go and walk through the cemetery, observe at a memorial ceremony, right. Yeah. And wasn't it he wouldn't even get out of the limo?
Yeah, it was raining, and I think he didn't
want to go.
So
I mean, how disrespectful.
Yeah, but again, nothing sticks to Trump. So somehow, the MAGA faithful, and even those who are not MAGA faithful but have some kind of transactional relationship with Trump, they give him a pass on it. Anyway, so to cut back to yesterday when he's talking to the Chancellor of Germany in front of all of the gaggle of press, and the Chancellor of Germany began this. So this clip has gone viral. We'll share with you this clip. This is Trump and the German Chancellor yesterday.
And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant...
This was not a great day.
In the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
And we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that America is, again, in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So...
Yeah. I mean,
how embarrassing is that?
It is insanely embarrassing. I don't even know that Trump realizes how embarrassed he should be. The fascistic horror that was wrought on Europe, the death camps, the killing of 6 million Jewish people, 6 million people, herded into camps, put on lines, gassed while they were alive. It's despicable. It's disgusting. It's one of the most grotesque chapters in modern human history. And that this guy didn't realize, and he's our president, that all of Europe was suffering under this. Italy was suffering under fascism. I mean, this, the Vichy government, the way the Nazis took over all of Poland and beyond. I mean, the threat of Nazism taking over the world was a real threat. And the idea somehow that Trump saw it as the Germans had a bad day because the Americans won and this guy's German, and so all the Germans were, no. This was a liberation of Europe. It's always been played as a liberation of Europe. Like, you don't need to read even a paragraph about D-Day to understand that. It was the liberation of Europe by the Allies, and the Americans were critical in giving freedom and liberty back to Europe. And somehow, again, Trump misses the point. But as a U.S. president, it's horribly embarrassing to see that scene.
Chancellor Merz was really good, though. Did you see the way he just kind of ignored what Trump was saying and explained to him why it was important, why we remember it?
Yeah, he pivoted beautifully. I agree with you.
Merz was really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
I mean, you have to be a statesman in that spot. And I thought, you're absolutely right. He was a statesman in that spot. But it speaks to the shallowness of our president once again. I mean, I always talk about him as really going through the motions of being the performative president, like the theater of president. He'll play all of the big moments, the big announcements. This is who Trump is. He likes this stuff. And of course, there's also a transactional thing, the self-enrichment thing. I'm not talking about the corruption. I'm just talking about the way he goes about being president. He doesn't read any briefing materials. Just show me where my close-up is. I'm ready. That's sort of his general disposition. But he didn't even hit his marks on this. I mean, it is clear that no one briefed him on, how you should react or how you should acknowledge D-Day. Now, I'm sure he'll have some statement today, or the White House will, but we know the truth about what happened and where he is. That's the American president at the moment. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Glad you could be here. That's just a part of what's happening in Trump land. I mean, Trump, I don't mean to make a Trump all the time at all. Believe me, we've got other stuff in the show.
Oh, how do you not, though? God.
Yeah, a palate cleanser with Friday Fabulous Florida today, and Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, with movies at the end of the week. Here, it's Friday. We're going to try to kick it a little bit, but there is a titanic battle in Washington, as you know. And I also have, before I get into the Titanic battle, I will mention one thing that might fall into a chunk of Trump category. I mean, I know it's all Trump and news and stuff, but don't you think the golf course thing is a chunk of Trump worthy, Kim?
I do. Yeah.
Albert, if you can rally it, this, my friends, is your chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
I know it's all about Trump and Elon, but there's other stuff going on. And in fact, it appears that Donald Trump's golf course was cited for 18 health violations.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the worst score in the county.
What?
Yeah.
Are you saying he's got a dirty golf course?
Never been anything like this.
Apparently, it didn't do well in the entire rundown of things. So, in following all of his golf course, there are a few things going on at his golf course and his club, as you know. One of which is that he employs a lot of people who are of questionable legal status in this country, and maybe that wouldn't be something that would bother us under normal circumstances, but we know that the jihadists in Washington want nothing to do with anyone who is in this country with any kind of questionable legal status. So as a result, there is a huge question mark and cloud over some of the workers at Mar-a-Lago. Also, concurrent with that, and you'll have to help me with this, Kim, because when I click the link, it goes to an article from Peter Baker in the New York Times, and as a result, it's not actually as represented. But concurrent with that, at the same time, he's running afoul of health inspectors there at the golf course, and apparently to the point that as health inspections go, it's the worst health inspection, the worst results of any testing that's gone on at businesses in the county. So Donald Trump, once again, and I'm not suggesting he's directly responsible, but let's face it, sort of feels on brand that he might be all show and no go. Yeah, I get it. If you click on that, it doesn't go to.
There's another one, but some of the information, it's the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. And on May 6th, they published and they inspected and published the results. The club,
and by the way, they publish it because it's publicly available online for all businesses. It's not like it's not an attack thing on Trump. Yeah, go ahead.
The club gets a score of 32 out of 100 possible points. That's pretty low, with the inspector documenting 18 violations deemed critical, which means they might result in an unacceptable health risk.
Yeah.
They were out of compliance on all three requirements in the food protected from contamination category, including expired milk, raw meat stored improperly, and a dishwasher that might not reach the required temperature.
Yeah.
They found 4 separate hand washing violations, including sinks without soap or paper towels, 1 lacking the required sign, 1 didn't have the right sanitizer. The club issued a conditionally satisfactory C grade, which they are required to display as a placard with their grade visible for everyone to see.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I remember that's where they had the crypto dinner, isn't it? Or no, that was in Virginia.
That was in the DC at the DC one.
Yeah.
There are 115 retail food establishments in Somerset County, New Jersey. Trump's got the lowest score, 32 out of 100. All but one other venue scored 60 or higher.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
And this is their new hoax.
Okay. All right.
Oopsies.
What can you tell us about the scene down to nobody's washing their hands at the Trump National Golf Club, Larry?
Just goes to show you never know. It could look really fancy and it could be really bad.
That's right. What can you tell us about the scene? Don't be deceived by the gold, Larry. don't order the meat. The meat is no good. What can you tell us about the scene? Trump is going to need that sanitizer, says Harry Magnan. That, my friends, is your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, it is only appropriate that we were talking about health and what's going on at his Bedminster golf course with 18 health violations for Donald Trump, the worst score in the county. We'll get to the implosion of the Musk-Trump relationship. It'll be a big part of what we will get to. But as I say, health brings up something that happens on this show every couple of weeks. We finally get a chance to see a doctor, a real doctor. He's an ER doctor, and we do it in a segment we call Vital Signs.
Looking for some good medical advice?
Supposing you brought the light inside the body.
Let's hear what a real doctor has to say. This is Vital Signs on the Mark Thompson Show.
He's a board-certified ER doctor in L.A. He studied global health at Georgetown University, medical degree from Ben-Gurion University, completed his residency training in emergency medicine at Lincoln Medical Center in the South Bronx. He's the real thing. He's also a former United States Peace Corps volunteer. So grateful for his generosity in spending time with us every couple of weeks. He's a real doc. Michael Daignault. What's up, Dr. Daignault?
Hey, good morning. You know, I just noticed on that the intro to Vital Signs, you have that quote from Trump talking about using the UV light to get rid of COVID back. Man, that really brought back some memories of those press conferences.
Well, it's a two-step process. It's the light and then the bleach. And when you put those two together, you know, maybe you get some results.
Magic.
I think they're researching that now. I mean, it sounds like quackery, but the quackery that's coming out of the RFK Jr. CDC and NIH directed agencies now may rival some of that. But it's kind of it doesn't play as absurd because it's got a lot of podcasters talking about it and a lot of alternative medicine people pointing to it. And alternative medicine, I think you would agree, doctor, can be a welcome part of therapies and of good health, but it has to be responsible alternative medicine. It can't be quackery. I wonder if you can speak to sort of some of what's going on now at the federal level when it comes to everything from health guidance to vaccine guidance, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, where do we start? I feel like every day I wake up and I check the headlines and I just like, I don't know where to begin. I guess we could probably, you know, I think the main thing to start with is what's been going on with like updated COVID vaccines. And you and I talked offline last night about some of these tweets that are going out from RFK, and then the response from some of the, you know, Make America Healthy Again, the MAGA, the zealots that are basically not happy with RFK, which is just interesting to see the divisions within that camp. And so the major news at the end of May was, even without, they still don't have a CDC director. There was a video where it was RFK, the director of the FDA, and the NIH director. They made this video where they basically announced that they're no longer recommending updated COVID vaccines for healthy people, particularly healthy children and also for pregnant women. And the thing that's most concerning about that is when you're pregnant, you're in an immune compromised state. And pregnant women are at very high risk for severe COVID illness just because of the state of being pregnancy. You're more likely to have blood clots. You're more likely to have bad things go wrong. And we've seen in multiple research studies that pregnant women have a higher rate of complications from COVID if they're not vaccinated. And so the big question around this was, if they're limiting access and they're saying we're no longer recommending vaccines for these groups, can you still get them? And so the answer is unclear. In theory, you should still be able to get vaccinated if you want an updated COVID vaccine. But because they're no longer recommended, you're going to have insurance companies sort of step back, and they might not pay for it. And so for those, particular people, low income, minorities, those are the ones that have had most severe COVID illness. It's going to be more difficult for them to get vaccinated. And so here's a tweet that you and I were discussing yesterday. So he's addressing the MAGA zealots that, were a big proponent of getting him into this position. And I want to just go through this tweet because
so this, and by the way, we talk about tweets, but this is an official post from from RFK Jr., who is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So this isn't just some guy, again, this is an official government position. Go ahead. Sorry, Doctor.
No problem. And this was June 3rd. So this was 3 days ago, and he's addressing, everybody. So the zealots in the MAGA Maha movement wanted mRNA vaccines to be completely removed from any kind of government recommendation, no longer used, et cetera. And so what he's saying here is that he's asking for Moderna to do another placebo-controlled trial of the updated COVID vaccine. And so the main issue with that is back in 2020, we already did this. We had over 100,000 participants in multiple research studies from Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. It was a double-blind, randomized controlled trial that showed that the vaccine was effective in reducing severe disease, reducing illness in general at the very beginning of the pandemic. And so basically when you're asking for another placebo-controlled trial, it sounds like science. It sounds like he's promoting, evidence-based science, but basically this is just pushing things further off into the future. And so when whether you have a new drug, a new cancer treatment, or a new vaccine, when you do a placebo-controlled trial, one group is going to get the placebo, and then one group is going to get the intervention, whether that's the drug or the vaccine, et cetera. And the ethical concern is that when you already have a proven vaccine and you're studying it in high-risk populations, part of that high-risk population in the study group is going to get the placebo and not the vaccine. And that's going to put them at risk. And that's a major ethical concern when you already have a proven vaccine.
Yeah, we've already done this dance, and now you're saying you want to do it again, and the placebo control group are being cheated essentially out of a legitimate vaccine. I want to just read the tweet because for those just listening, because we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, et cetera, and are just hearing it. This again is from RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services. I'll just read it quickly. I want to address those of you who have anxieties about U.S. FDA's limited approval of a new mRNA COVID vaccine for high-risk populations. Moderna has agreed to a true placebo-controlled trial of the new vaccine, which is similar to the existing mRNA vaccine, but uses a smaller protein. I want to come back to that in a second. But you talked about the placebo and the fact that we've already been through this. The FDA will monitor and collect data throughout the trial for every adverse outcome, not just a table list of expected outcomes. FDA will scrutinize every aspect of the trial. We will deliver on our promise to use gold standard science and common sense. You would say, hey, we already did use gold standard science and common sense. But let me ask you about this smaller protein thing. He does a lot of this where he'll make a big pronouncement. We're going to do placebo-controlled. We're going to check every adverse outcome, sort of suggesting that every adverse outcome wasn't tracked prior to this. But then he throws in a little nugget of what seems like science if you don't know. So we're going to use the existing mRNA, is what he says, but using a smaller protein. What does that mean? How does that change the vaccine? Does it make it more palatable for the body? Tell me why he throws that in.
So you're 100% right. I mean, this is the playbook, right? Like you use this tweet that's full of, science jargon. It sounds legit. Like if you were just scrolling and you read this, everything in this sounds Good. So regarding the smaller protein, I did some research last night. There's nothing in this new placebo-controlled trial or the updated Moderna vaccine that said they're using a smaller amount. This is totally not true. And I think what he's trying to do is saying that there's less mRNA in this new vaccine that they're doing to sort of like, give the people what they want, essentially. But this goes back to their whole fear of mRNA. And I sent you another tweet last night, and it's mind-blowing that you're seeing some of these doctors out there, like Dr. Emmanuel, since the beginning has been very anti-vax. I'm surprised she still has a license, but she promotes products that they're basically snake oil that promise to eliminate all mRNA from your body. And it's mind-blowing because if you remember from like high school biology, mRNA is in all our cells. Like mRNA takes the genetic material that's passed down to us in our DNA, and it codes for proteins for every part of our body that we need. And so it's become this anti-COVID vax, but particularly anti-mRNA.
Yeah, that's her tweet. Not to interrupt, but I just want to kind of put it in context again for people who might just be listening. Dr. Stella Emanuel, MD, this is the person to whom Dr. Daignault is referring, tweets this: mRNA needs to be taken off the market entirely, in capital letters with an exclamation point. And that was her remark about the statement that Secretary Kennedy had just posted, the one that I read you before, the one about we're going to have a new vaccine, it's going to have a smaller protein, but going to have mRNA. But she's saying, hey, mRNA needs to be taken off the market entirely. I mean, she cranks it up a notch, Yeah. And this mRNA technology, during COVID, we were reading about how revolutionary it was, that it could be repurposed for the COVID problem. From a lot of the ways in which it was being used. It was even being applied to, I thought, some cancer research, as I recall at the time.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of the mRNA technology platform. So just to give the listeners and the viewers just a quick, one-liner about how mRNA vaccines work is that you use mRNA is very small. And basically, when you have it injected into your body, your immune system translates that mRNA into the spike protein that COVID uses to get into our bodies. And then that subsequently generates an immune response, creates antibodies, so that in the future, when you're exposed to COVID, you're able to fight it off. The advantage of this compared to other vaccine technology is that the scientists can quickly update it as variants change. And that's, not just COVID, that's potentially bird flu, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Get to, yeah.
And any variant, and that's what they've been doing every season. They look and see what the most prevalent strain is, and they update the mRNA platform technology to create a newer vaccine, and they're able to mass produce it very quickly. And that's just been an amazing part of science. And as you mentioned with cancer too, they can basically target treatment using the mRNA technology specific to that person's tumors that are causing their cancer. And so, unfortunately, when you have such a backlash against the mRNA vaccine and mRNA technology, we're really losing a great opportunity here to develop novel treatments against cancer and be more prepared against additional pandemics in the future.
Yeah, it really feels as though we're backsliding in terms of where the science is. This is a real war on science. And just to be clear, the mRNA technology is not the kind of vaccine technology that's used in the flu vaccine?
Right. Yeah. The traditional, flu vaccine uses a whole dead inactivated virus. And so your body, the immune system is exposed to that when you're vaccinated and is able to generate the protection from that.
And a quick follow-up on that. And the only reason that we don't use the dead virus for COVID, for example, is because the mutations are such that the dead virus would not really help you with, is that the point of the mRNA? It wouldn't be able to help you in targeting the new mutation?
Well, just remember though that the J&J, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine did not use mRNA technology. They used a more traditional approach. But again,
there were issues with Johnson & Johnson or not?
There were it just takes a longer time to develop an update, basically, compared to like the mRNA from Pfizer and Moderna, for example.
So you saw both of those vaccines as, that is to say, both those technologies, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, et cetera, as being both well-suited to take on COVID?
Yeah, but I think like subsequent studies showed that the Pfizer and the Moderna were just a little bit more effective, particularly at the beginning of COVID when we had the original strain. They showed more, a higher rate. It was in the upper 90s protection against severe illness and stuff. So.
I'm going to move past COVID here, but this is my last question on COVID because we did get it from a listener. It was, let me just find the exact wording, because I had asked listeners and viewers to, who had specific questions for you. This is from Donna. She says, I'm 64 and I've had 5 vaccines to get before the end of the year. COVID, flu, shingles, 2 shots, of course, of shingles, and a measles booster because the blood test confirmed I'm not 100% immune. Went to my pharmacist today and asked about all of them and the timeline between each. She told me that they were told to send all the COVID vax back, but gave no reason why, and they do not know if or when they will get any back. Please ask the doctor if he knows anything about this.
Yeah, this is concerning. This is what we were saying, that as much as RFK pledged during his confirmation hearings to not limit access, this is exactly what they're doing. And so if you go on the CDC webpage for COVID vaccines, like right now, it still has from the Biden era, it still says everybody 6 months or older recommended to be vaccinated. And then at the top, there's a banner that says new guidelines are coming. And so there's a CDC ACIP. That's the committee of doctors that they have. It's a meeting June 25th to 27th. So that'll be really interesting to see, because the recommendations come from that committee, never from the HHS secretary. But again, we don't have a CDC director right now. So they had canceled the previous ACIP meeting a couple months ago. So we'll see what happens when this group meets this time and what new recommendations they're going to have going forward, because that determines what happens at your local pharmacy. Like that determines what vaccines are going to be available. So to answer the viewer's question, I mean, I think focus right now on updating the measles vaccine, especially, because there are a lot more measles cases going around. And if you're not immune anymore, the 2 shingles doses are important. But my concern is, again, every summer we've seen a COVID surge. Like, it's been weird, right? Like, you have the winter surge and then you have the summer one. And in the ER right now, certainly in the last week, seeing a lot more people testing positive for COVID again. And so, the only vaccine that's available right now, if you can find it, is the previous winters, or almost like the one from last fall. So it probably does provide some protection, but it's not as closely matched as we would want it.
All right. Now to bird flu. Bird flu is something that seems to take the headline, then fade, then take another headline, then fade. So it's not in the public consciousness a lot, or in the public conversation a lot. And of course, it gets bumped out by a lot of other stuff that's going on. I mean, Washington is something of a circus right now, and the circus, unfortunately, is destructive. It's not a playful circus. But my point is simply, in the news cycle, bird flu has been bumped out unless you're really following it. So you, in the medical profession, you and your colleagues really do follow the progression of bird flu, the threat of bird flu. I wonder if you can just update us on where that stands.
Right. So this is something that you and I certainly have been following. And so I think the big news from bird flu, again, going back to mRNA, was that RFK canceled Moderna's bird flu vaccine contract. And that was an mRNA vaccine platform. Again, they had already been in human trials, which showed that the bird flu vaccine was very effective. There was no concerning safety profile or interaction side effects or anything like that. So it was moving forward, and that was going to be really important to have, just so we could quickly, update it depending on if bird flu subsequently mutated to the point where it was passing from person to person. The existing stockpile of bird flu vaccines that we have are more like the traditional flu vaccine. And so they may not be as relevant anymore, updated to what the current strain could potentially be. And again, that goes back to how great the mRNA vaccine platform is for quickly updating. And so that's a huge setback. I feel like we're just sort of flying blind right now, and we're not going to be prepared. And that was a was like a $700 million contract with Moderna. And the fact that they were already through clinical trials with safety and efficacy, and then to just lose that progress is not good.
If people can't get the boosters, is coming in the chat, and the vax wears off, will we be seeing more people dying of COVID? We just kind of explained that maybe there'll be a vulnerability to bird flu because of the, KOing of that whole program. I mean, it's just been knocked out. But I'm wondering about, and based on this comment, if people can't get COVID boosters, might there be more death from COVID?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, every week we still have people in this country that die of COVID. And, it's not as much as it was before, of course. But, and the flip side of that is, as the virus has continued to mutate down this Omicron family variants, it's just become, so much more contagious, more infectious. And
has it become weaker, though, Doctor? Or is it
still weaker in the sense that it does not cause severe illness as much? I mean, very, very rarely do I see a patient that tests positive and they have also COVID pneumonia and they're hypoxic, their oxygen levels are low. Most of the time, what we see is just a very aggressive upper respiratory infection, sore throat, runny nose, weakness, lethargy, fatigue. Most of these patients go home. Those that are higher risk are prescribed Paxlovid, just to prevent the virus from progressing to the point where it causes severe disease and hospitalization, requires them to come back to the ER. It's just much more contagious. And that's just normal viral evolution. Like, the virus just doesn't want to be stamped out. And so it's just going to evolve to the point that, again, Darwinism, the most efficient variant that's able to spread from person to person is going to be the one that's going to persist and survive among all the other variants.
I just think about deadly illnesses that are associated with growing threats of pandemic. I mean, Ebola comes to mind, but there are others. And I wonder about the disposition of this country now from a scientific standpoint, with these guys in charge and with essentially no disposition toward aggressively handling that from a vaccine standpoint. But this guy wants a 20-year double-blind study with a placebo group. That's not going to get you to stop the bleeding if there's a pandemic of the sort that we saw with COVID. I mean, we're as thorough as we can be, I would say, given what the best science says about the vaccines that we're developing. But this guy seems like he has no stomach for any of it.
Yeah, and if you look at the White House Office of Pandemic Preparedness, which was set up in 2020 with a staff of 20 people under Biden, now there's one guy, and nobody seems to know, what's going on. Like, I read in some articles that, he is tracking bird flu as a physician. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But, when you have an office like that, it's just been downgraded from 20 to 1. It just shows that it's not a priority for this administration, for RFK Jr., for HHS. And that's not just bird flu. It's like you mentioned, it's Ebola, it's other potential pandemics, just to be aware that we're living in an era where pandemics can happen. And like you said before, we're just going backwards instead of being more prepared and being more forward and learning lessons from the previous pandemic.
It just seems like revisionist science, and in such a science really has left the building. I don't even understand. I know they use a lot of scientific terms, but there are no real scientists involved, it wouldn't seem, anymore. Even these doctors to whom we've referred in this conversation just seem to be all about total quackery. In our last few minutes, I want to step away from vaccines. I have a contemporary concern. I want to try to drop 10 pounds. It's amazing. People say, you look great, Mark, you're incredible. Look, I understand I'm insanely handsome and I look great. I have when I walk into a room, people just can't stop staring at how great, but I need to lose 10. What's happening is I get older and I don't change my lifestyle at all. And now everything I eat is sticking to me. And I think that is true with a lot of people who are watching as well. Is there any workaround? It seems like pharmaceuticals are beginning to come to my rescue, but you need a little more than losing 10 pounds if you want to get on that stuff that, whatever it's called, you can update me on the pharmaceuticals, and then just give me the grim realities about how I have to get into the gym, move around, reduce the calorie intake. Give me 30 seconds on this.
Right. So I think the top 3 things that I would say you need to do. So the age-old wisdom was always that doing a lot of cardio was the way to lose weight. And so when you're running on a treadmill at the gym, you're burning calories. But the moment you stop running, that burning stops. And when you look at multiple research studies, when you lift weights, you're burning calories during the weightlifting. You continue to burn even after you stop lifting for multiple hours. And so many studies have shown that if you lift, if you're doing strength training, you're going to burn more fat than just doing cardio alone. So that's the one thing I want people to remember. The second thing is you have to track your calories. MyFitnessPal, there's new AI apps that I was just learning about recently that if you're not sure how much protein, fat, and carbs are in your meal, you take a picture of it. It's just done so easily now that you can track.
Wow.
And you'd be really surprised to see what you consume during the day. And once you just take ownership of that and you can track it and you can get to the gym and lift some weights. And then, of course, sleep optimization. If you're not, we talked about this before, if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to build that muscle. You're not going to burn that fat. The growth hormone release that you need in the middle of the night is not going to happen. And that's so important for your metabolism.
It's pointed out here by Phineas, playing poker is not a sport, Mark. Yes, it's true. It is such a sedentary activity. That is true. I also think, boy, those are really great tips. And I think that those are applicable. I mean, not only applicable from being relevant standpoint in the use of the word applicable, but I mean, I can apply those things. They are doable, Mm-hmm. So as usual, you have helped me and you've helped us, and I appreciate this visit. Did we leave anything out that we wanted to get to? I think we got to everything.
Oh yeah, the other one tip I love to give patients is, especially ones that are just starting to exercise and they want to burn fat and lose weight, is that the dinner meal, when you have dinner with your family and then you immediately either want to go sit on the couch and watch TV or movies, that is the best time to go for a walk, because just leave the dishes, eat, go for a walk. It'll help your metabolism. It helps insulin release. It'll just help you digest a little bit better. And, that's time with your family. It's time outside. Go for a walk. That's where you burn a lot of fat. And everything you'll eat won't stick to you, as you mentioned. So
yeah, great tip. And thank you for reminding me, because you did remind me of the last story that I wanted to ask you about, because the sitting on the couch, watching TV and eating is the stoner's manual. And there was just a new study, and it came out of San Francisco. And there are a couple of things about the study that are a little bit, to me, maybe thin. And one of which is the number of people involved in the study. It was just 55 people, but they found that the effect of cannabis, either marijuana intake, smoking, or marijuana intake with edibles, had an effect on the heart, a negative effect on the cardiovascular system. Can you speak to that? Because that is it's become a favorite pastime of mine.
Yeah, I think
and of many.
Yeah, I think the shocking part of this is the edible part. I mean, we've known that, smoking is bad, but to see that in those with heavy cannabis use in the study, whether it was from edibles or smoking, had a higher risk of endothelial damage. So just a reminder, viewers, so the endothelial lining is the inner lining of our vessels, whether that's our heart, throughout our body, and our brain. And so when you have damage to the inner lining, you're more likely to have plaque and clots stick to that. And those clots, that plaque, is the mechanism for heart attacks and strokes. And in particularly in the smokers in this study, they had a reduced amount of nitric oxide. So nitric is so important for the dilation of the blood vessels, the response to blood pressure, systemic blood pressure, how our body responds to stress. And if you don't have that, you're increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And so I think because this study showed that those who smoke it and also those who use the edibles, I think it's the THC itself that's potentially causing this problem with the endothelial lining and the nitric oxide release and the increased risk of heart attacks and strokes, essentially. And so, like you said, it's a small study. It's a small study. Yep, you're right. But this wasn't the first study. There was another study a few months ago that we actually talked about on Fox, highlighting this. So I'll see if I can send it to you. But
yeah, I'd like to read more. It's interesting to me. I mean, and then of course, there are all these examples. First of all, THC intake and smoking marijuana has been a part of the culture for decades and decades. I mean, and you have like the poster child for it all, Willie Nelson, who's what is he, 90 or something? I mean, he's got to be closing in on 90. So it clearly isn't a death sentence, but and has brought a lot of relief and pleasure to many people. But it was a radically alarming thing to read that even if you avoid smoking, that it might have an effect on your heart. So thank you for the breakdown on that.
Sure.
Well, our time is done, but this has been great. You can find Dr. Daignault on Fox 11 in Los Angeles. He does regular reports there, and here every couple of weeks with Vital Signs. Thank you, Dr. Daignault. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Mark.
Yeah, good to see you too. That's Vital Signs for today.
Check your vital signs again next time, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Mm-hmm.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, you got to get it going. I'll tell you, it is Kim's birthday today. Those of you who might just be joining
Kim, how are you?
Kim is our lovely
news
person on this show, and she also does a lot of producing and a lot of other stuff on the show. So it's very, very fun to have her, celebrating a birthday. She's not really in a celebratory way.
I blame you.
Yeah, maybe it's my fault. I don't know, but
here I thought the one day a year you would actually be, gentle, soft, kind.
No. Really?
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
Yeah, exactly. People would not recognize me if I was that way. Yeah. This is tough love, It's what can I say?
It was great. I loved it.
All right. Happy birthday to Kim from an Aptos boy. Barry sends you a $5 super chat. Thanks, you, Barry.
Barry from Aptos. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Vilma says, happy birthday, Kim. A very happy birthday with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Vilma.
Really nice.
And thanks all of the boys and girls who are excited to celebrate with you. Elwin, the awesome named Elwin with a $2 super sticker. Thank you, guys. Super stickers and super chats are live during the show. You can also make contributions through YouTube after the show's on. And as I say, we're an NPR PBS model, basically. So we say, hey, if you derive some pleasure from this show, if you get information from the show, whatever it might be, please support the show because we need your support to stay going. So Patreon and PayPal are the monthly ways in which many of our listeners and viewers support us. There are links to Patreon and PayPal under all our videos, and also from our websites, themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com. You got to put the in there because there's another Mark Thompson. In fact, there are like a jillion Mark Thompsons, but the one who has markthompson.com is a ventriloquist who we love, and I'm sure we'd love his show, but it doesn't help us if you contribute to him.
Yeah, there's a zillion Mark Thompsons, and they all have a show.
Yeah, I should get zillionmarkthompsons.com.
Yeah.
Themarkthompsonshow.com, click Patreon or PayPal there, and it'll take you right through, and you can support us that way. And the last thing I will say is, because a few of you have sent checks to the show, if that's your jam, you don't want to go through the clicking and you don't want to go to the website, you can send me an email, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com, and I will send you an address via email, and you can send a check that way, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Drop me a line, and I'll get you hooked up with an address. That's a great way to support the show, too. Happy 29th birthday, says Harry.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, look at this. Somebody else has a birthday today as well.
Who's that?
I think I just saw someone else said it's their birthday.
I see
Molly.
Melophidians. Oh, happy birthday, Kim. My birthday also, says Molly.
Hey, happy birthday, Molly.
Yeah, all of you birthday kids. I saw that Kim is the icing on the cake of life, says Melophidian.
Oh, that's nice.
Wow, that's a very sweet thing. Melophidian probably, good guy to be around.
Yeah.
Guy or girl. I don't know if Melophidian, male or female.
Yeah.
Anyway, very cool, Molly, that you have a birthday. Very cool, Kim, that you have
Molly.
a birthday. Life is good. Life is good.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have Friday Fabulous Florida, and I want to get into the Elon Trump thing, and I do have a bold prediction for Elon Trump, and it's one I'm a little anxious about, but I'm still going to make it because, as I've told you, and if you've watched the show at all, I've seen historically the way that Musk really has more leverage over the American government than the American government has over Musk. I spoke of this in great detail during the Biden administration, because the Biden administration, and this is one of the reasons that Musk wanted to get involved with Doge, because he wanted to get a lot of these regulatory agencies off his back. The Biden administration was trying to bring Musk into line when it came to taxes, when it came to defiling the environment, destruction of the environment through his rocket launches and landings. There are a lot of fragile habitats that have been harmed and even destroyed by a lot of the work that Musk has done. Musk has been in violation of everything, as you know, from OSHA violations to animal cruelty through Neuralink. So, this is a guy who had USAID on his back and the EPA on his back, and those are the first two agencies that he went after.
And the SEC.
And thank you. All of these government agencies were immediately targeted. I mean, the priority that Musk had was to go into those very agencies that were, harshing his buzz, or whatever that word is, harshing his jam. The very agencies that were targeting Musk were the first agencies that Musk went after for waste, fraud, and abuse. That's where he sent his little dojettes, the little 18 to 26-year-olds in to dismantle data, to scrape those databases, and to fire people and essentially destroy government in those agencies specifically. Then he went on to the IRS. Then he went on to the Social Security Administration. Then he went on to the U.S. Treasury. But this was a personal thing with Musk. So back to my thesis at the time with Biden was that even though the Biden administration and the U.S. government is going after Elon Musk, Musk is needed for so many different things associated with space flight, rescuing astronauts, sending astronauts into space, getting satellites going. I mean, these are things that Musk's company was directly responsible for. There are other things as well, Starlink, et cetera. So, excuse me, the leverage, I always said, was really with Musk. I understood that the U.S. government was after him, but Musk had the leverage, in my judgment, because the government was dependent on him. That leverage thing may shift now because Trump and the Trump people aren't afraid of unplugging Musk from various parts of U.S. government contracts that they have. I mean, because the Trump people have shown they're willing to be reckless, they don't really care about the repercussions. It is possible that Trump gains leverage with Musk. I'm just speaking about the leverage part of this relationship. Okay, we'll get into everything in the back and forth, and they're both in a huge public food fight, and I'll get to all of that. But I'm not sure about this now. I mean, again, Musk, for his part of the leverage equation, has said, great, you want to be a jerk to me? I'm going to decommission my spacecraft, and now your astronauts are stranded. I mean, I can pull Starlink, and your communications are dark. So you see how Musk gains leverage in this relationship that is changing constantly, because I'd suggest that the leverage meter is constantly moving. So again, to review, to the degree that Trump and his people want to be reckless about it, they can pull government contracts or try and disconnect from Musk, but they may pay a huge price because Musk himself can mess with them. So this, I think, is almost a day-to-day, hour-by-hour thing. That's why I watch these pronouncements, and I watch this public food fight, and I watch it with some anticipation as to what's going to happen. Because, as I say, now to my prediction. My prediction is that they will get back together. And I say this, I know right now they are in a public knife fight that is pretty brutal. I mean, we'll get to Musk has accused Trump of being part of the Epstein machine, which involved this gross, sexual, predatory machine that Jeffrey Epstein had. He's saying that's why those files haven't been released.
Because Trump's name is involved in that? That's why it hasn't been released, huh?
That's what he's saying. And then he's also saying, Musk is, that Trump's bloated bill blows up the budget. There aren't any real cuts there, and it's an abomination, using that word. So that's kind of how this whole thing started. But I'll remind you that Steve Bannon and Donald Trump also had a very public breakup. This is in Trump season 1. And Bannon, again, and you know Bannon can smack talk with the best of them. And he's smack talking right now about Musk. He's saying that Musk should be deported. You know, Musk is lucky to be here at all of that stuff. So Bannon and Trump got into it in a big, big way. Remember, just like Musk, Bannon was a big part of the Trump administration in season 1. Bannon was helping to dictate policy. Bannon was advising Trump and actually kind of sort of a junior spokesperson there for the White House. Then they fell out of love with each other. Bannon was taking a lot of heat. Bannon was kind of bad for the Trump brand, and they bounced Bannon, and Bannon started, again, a public feud with Trump.
Yeah.
Well, look what happened. They got back together. Same thing with Roger Stone. Roger Stone got into a big thing with Donald Trump. They got back together. I believe that because of some of the things that I've noted, that is to say, Musk's leverage over Trump and Trump's leverage over Musk and the unpredictable nature of both, I believe they will find the bromance again. And so that is my bold prediction. We'll see if it comes to pass. I should ask Mr. Predicto quickly. Will Trump and Musk get back together, Mr. Predicto? Will Trump and Musk get back together?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, there you go. So Mr. Predicto agrees with me. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Kanye West told them to get back together. I saw that. Shadow producer Calvin Wong notes Kanye West told Trump and Musk to stop fighting.
Well, if Kanye says it, then you know.
Yeah, that's the. Roger, thanks for the $5 super sticker. Appreciate that very much. Now, to the details of the Musk and Trump thing, I was going to leave them for Michael Shure and I to kind of go over the ashes of their relationship in a few minutes. And I was going to do Florida now. Does that sound like something that's reasonable, Albert? I mean, we could do Florida and then we can get back to Musk. But I wanted to kind of give you the broad strokes and my prediction before Michael got here. And then, as I say, we'll review some of what's been said, the back and forth, and we'll revisit Trump's remarks from the White House when Michael gets here. Are we good to go to Florida? Are we good for that, Mike? Albert?
Yes, after that sip of coffee is done.
That is so good. Kim, tell us again how you're going to be celebrating your birthday while I just need 2 seconds to cough.
We'll be going out to dinner with the family, and I think that's about it. Not a real, you get old and then it's not a big party anymore, but that's okay.
Do you have a favorite restaurant, or where do you go for out to dinner?
We go to an Italian place. It's called Cucina Paradiso.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They got a little plug. And tell me, do you have a favorite Italian dish?
I do. It's called the sachetto, and it's a giant ravioli, like a rectangle that takes up the whole plate, filled with vegetables and good stuff in there. And yeah,
there's never been anything like this.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty great.
It's fantastic.
Okay, I get it. It sounds pretty great. Well, without any further delay, although as you know, we do delight in delays on this show, but the time has come. On Fridays, we do this as a palate cleanser to a lot of the political news that we cover in detail on this show. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Sheriff's office is saying that deputies and a local trapper ended up removing 2 alligators from residential pools in a single day. Where's the, it's mating season and they're hungry. 2
right
in
now,
one
it's
day.
mating season, and they're hungry.
There you
Thank
go.
you. The video is pretty wild. It was a 7-foot gator that they removed from a pool in Pinecrest Lakes in Jensen Beach. You can see the video. Albert has it up for you now. Apparently, the alligator was unfazed by it all. It is the second time today, said the official, that a gator's been found soaking up the sun in a residential pool in our area.
Gotta watch that. Can't just go dive into your pool in the backyard. You gotta check it first.
That is really scary. I mean, that really is scary. I mean, if you had too much to drink, if you got baked,
Had a little
and you
gummy.
made a mistake, you are done.
A little dip in the hot pool. Nope.
The sheriff's office said both incidents should serve as a reminder that in Florida it is, anyone? Mating season.
Right
It
now,
is
it's
correct,
mating
if
season.
you guessed.
And they're hungry.
Yeah, and they are hungry. Meantime, on the other side of town, a Florida woman is arrested after trying to hide drugs in the patrol vehicle that she was being taken. I love it.
Nice.
I love it. Got it. Look, it's never over till it's over.
It's a perfect place to stash your drugs, right?
Sure, they've got you, but they don't really have you till they find those drugs. Why not leave them in the car? She was arrested during a traffic stop. Deputies said they discovered marijuana. Really? Oh, wait, that wasn't all. She was caught on camera in the car hiding 28 grams of, anybody?
Meth.
If you guessed meth, yes, that's exactly what we... So it was Flagler County. The deputies pulled over 37-year-old Tram Nguyen. She ran a stop sign. During the stop, the canine alerted to narcotics. They discovered 8 plastic bags of marijuana packaged for sale and hidden under the vehicle's engine cover. That's a solid plan. I mean, to hide it under the engine cover, I got to say.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I think she had not run the stop sign, would have been fine.
Her eyes are kind of wiggy.
Her eyes are wiggy. It's a look. It's a look. We do rate the booking photos. Mo Direct puts her at a 7. 4.2 says Francine. Kim, it's your birthday. You get the final vote.
She gives me the creeps. I'm going to give her a 4.
No, she gives me the creeps. I'll give her a 9.
No, really?
Yeah, on the creep scale. She gets points. While taking Nguyen to jail, deputies said she was caught on camera removing a plastic bag from her pants and kicking it under the partition. A search of the vehicle uncovered 28 grams of meth. Bravo. She was open for business that day if she hadn't rolled through that stop sign. Damn. And finally, in Friday Fabulous Florida, a woman bitten by a possible barracuda in Lauderdale by the Sea.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Wait,
Man,
are there barracudas in the sea? I thought they were like a river lake kind of fish.
Oh, no, I thought they were ocean
I think
fish.
they're
I don't know.
strictly ocean.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
okay,
they're
okay.
purely, they're an ocean thing. A woman taken to the hospital after she was bitten by some kind of marine life, and experts say it was possibly a barracuda, just
Yikes.
based on the bites, the nature of her non-life-threatening injuries. I was sitting in my chair, and I saw a young lady start screaming loudly, said a witness. She was swelling, and she was holding out her left arm. One of these guys ran out to help get her out of the water, and then somebody yelled for a towel because she was bleeding pretty profusely. She was screaming for help. She was screaming for help, and I was the first one to pull her out of the water, said one guy. The wound, it was just a chunk out of her forearm. I applied pressure in a makeshift tourniquet. The woman was conscious the whole time. She had a nasty bite. She is expected to be okay. The first barracuda bite of the new season.
Well, that's no fun.
No fun at all. There are all the witnesses talking about what they saw. Pretty crazy. That's Friday Fabulous Florida, but before we leave, we must pick a favorite. I'll remind you of what we've just heard. Again, you just heard the woman bitten by a possible barracuda in the Lauderdale-by-the-Sea community. A Florida woman arrested after trying to hide drugs. It was meth in the patrol vehicle from which she was pulled as she was being booked. And then 2 alligators in one day in Florida County removed from pools in people's homes. We need to pick a favorite. It's in the bylaws of the show. Kim, I'll ask you for a favorite, please. It's your birthday, and pretty much everybody's just going to agree with that, whatever you say, because it is your birthday.
I'm going to go with Gators in the pool.
Gators in the pool, very Florida, very on brand, I should say. Albert, how about you?
I like the Cuda bite. Barracuda. It's the first time we've had it, so I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, and that's the first time we've had Barracuda. Just for the sake of something new, I'll go
Phineas
with that.
yells Cuda, 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 Cuda. Florida trifecta, says Tom. Run, stop sign, pot under hood, and hide meth in the patrol car. You're right.
Pretty good.
Pretty strong.
Tom is on par with the chat. The chat, half of the chat loves the drug patrol car ditch.
Yeah, Gators always win, says Karen Cooper. We're really partial to Gators. Pool Gators, says Donna. But hide them drugs, says Lee Kopp. You know what? I'm going to go with the drugs. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. Yeah. I love that she had all like a magician. She has drugs everywhere. Like I've got marijuana under the hood, and then I've got meth in my pants. It's like one of those bird acts where they go like that and doves keep coming out of the guy's sleeve. That is Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Glad you could all be here. I know you're here for Michael Shure, who's going to be joining us in just a moment. We'll get into the Musk-Trump relationship that appears to be, at least for the moment, falling apart. I'll share with my distinguished colleague, Michael Shure, my prediction that I gave all of you in the last half hour. Right now, I'd like to just get a quick... By the way, this is a makeshift cup. This is not a mug. We have a thing with Michael. I have tons of mugs here, just so many mugs just sitting here in the studio, and yet I just can't find the right mug for Michael. That's so delicious. That's Coachella Valley Coffee. They are our sponsors. They are our partners. They help us. Just even their small sponsorship helps us make our payroll every month. And so please take a look at their terrific line of products they have. It's a boutique roastery. Everything's hand roasted. And these are women-owned businesses that they give seed money to. And these businesses have flourished, and they are producing some of the greatest coffee beans on earth through Latin America, through Africa. Go and take a look at their website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And when you go, you'll see coffee. You'll see a lot of tea. We have tons of the tea as well. I love the tea. I was drinking it all last week, the tea, and spices too. So anything that you get on the site, tea, coffee, spices, whatever, load it up and then take 10% off with our discount code MARKT at checkout. MARKT is 10% off anything you want. Again, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This man has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know, and wow, his life has to be pretty interesting. Politics has never in our lives been like this. How about it for Michael Shure? Michael, I thought I'd run with...
What are you saying?
For those just listening, Michael's drinking from a huge mug that says Current TV, now one that says the Young Turks. You know, and here I-24 where he's worked, he's really received all these mugs everywhere he's worked. And yet he just...
There's never been anything like this.
I just don't... I don't know why we haven't been able to get a...
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Don't know why we haven't been able to get a mug to Michael Shure.
I blame you.
Well, maybe it is my fault. I don't know. It is Kim's birthday today, Michael. I don't know if you're aware of that.
You know, I know, I saw, and I wish her the absolute best. Kim's awesome, and
she's pretty awesome.
I think birthdays are great.
Thanks, Michael Shure.
I'm a big fan of birthdays. I love them. I think everybody should have their day where they get to celebrate, and so I take mine seriously. Well done, Kim.
James says, even the Young Turks give him a mug? Come on, Albert. This isn't March Madness with lost trophies. It's one mug. Get it for him. I told you I've received impassioned pleas from various viewers and listeners saying, the bit is over. Don't do the bit anymore. It's not funny. And when I get those, I think of what Albert always says to me, which is the more they're complaining about the bit, the harder you have to hit the bit. Yeah.
So I thought Albert was on Team Shure here with the mug.
Well, he might be, but he's general prime directive is if people are complaining about it, you got to hit it harder. Just keep hitting.
I feel like if the Canadian hockey, if the Edmonton Oilers win the cup, I think Michael deserves a mug.
A Stanley mug.
There you go. Yeah, that's what you need.
All right.
All right. Let's get into it. The Elon Trump breakup has been ugly. It started with, and this is really interesting. I'm so glad I'm talking to you about this because there's a lot wrong with Musk's criticism of the bill, but it's not that the bill is good. It's just that what he really wants, Musk, at least as articulated from Doge land, is he wants bigger cuts. He wants cuts to social spending that are even more gargantuan. He wants a lot. That's his problem. But be that as it may, we'll leave it to the side, Michael. It started with his criticism of this, as it's called, big beautiful bill. This huge bill that they're trying to squire through the Senate. And Albert, play for Michael, if you would please, a bit of what was being stated in the Oval as Trump was initially greeted with this news that Musk was critical of the bill and what was in the bill. Go ahead.
The criticism that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, regarding Elon Musk and your big, beautiful bill, what's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which, of course, what is you're seeking?
Well, look, I've always liked Elon, and it's always very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about 1.6 trillion in cuts. It's the biggest tax cut. You would say people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. It's we are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable. And when you look at what we're doing for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all of the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And, Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. And, they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles. And they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And, Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago. That's been in there. I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, Mr. Secretary. That hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that it disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, he recommended somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA. And I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like totally Democrat. And I say, look, we won. We get certain privileges. And one of the privileges, we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. We have great people. General Kane is going to be picking somebody with our, we'll be checking him out and seeing, but he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And, I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk. And even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. He knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape. He said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Well, he was right about the personally part. It did get personal after this. Look, he's
I
a
wonder
lot.
what Friedrich Merz is thinking sitting there too, the Chancellor of Germany.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
unbelievable! And we addressed the D-Day remarks in the first. I was going to circle back around to it toward the end of our conversation, but just on this. Give me your take on this, Michael. Again, that was the beginning of this feud. It got a lot uglier.
Well, Donald Trump loves this, right? I mean, he loves this part of governance, which is the petty personal stuff. It's what got him there, right? I mean, this is The Apprentice live. This is all of what, how President Trump was invented. He was invented on a reality show. And this is when he gets to go back into that character and do those things again. He loves it. He loves not talking about policy because he doesn't know policy. He speaks in vagaries when he talks about policy. But when he gets to do this kind of thing, pitting him against somebody else, talking about how good he was and how much he helped him. That's what he finished with there, how much I helped Elon. One could argue that the gazillions of dollars that Elon Musk put into the election last year helped Donald Trump. I'm not saying he wouldn't have won without it, but I would say that there were a couple of states that were put in play by Musk. I don't know what Trump has done to help Musk other than agree to call the department Doge. Because Musk is selling a Doge coin. That's the name of his meme coin. So to me, that's helpful, right? It's an advertisement every time you say the word Doge. But
by the way, just on that, quick follow-up. Many in the chat agree with you that sort of Musk bought the presidency for Trump. But I'm sort of with you. I'm not sure that Trump wouldn't have won anyway. But
it doesn't matter. Elon helped him more than he helped him.
But on the on what Trump did for him, I'd say he can't say this part out loud. But I made the point in the first hour that he gave the keys to the kingdom to Doge, and he let Musk and all his Dogettes go in there and scrape government databases for a lot of information about Americans and a lot of information about payments and such. And he went first after those government agencies that, of course, had regulatory business. That is to say, were giving Musk a hard time. Everything from the IRS to EPA to USAID. They actually did that in reverse order. He went first after USAID, but these were problems for Musk. They were on his back. So he essentially just canceled those agencies and those people out, and all of that went away. Now, again, Trump can't say that, but that's what he really did for him.
And you're right. And Trump would say that if he knew that, if he really could relate to that in a way that he could articulate it, I believe he would say it. He's not shy about saying things. Because he knows that nothing matters in a way. So saying that in 1978 would have been a terrible thing to do in 1984 and 1993. But now saying it with him at the helm, it doesn't really matter what he says. So I think he would say it. And I think you're right. I didn't want to gloss over that, but because it's very true. But the point is that this is really about the show of the presidency more than it is about the presidency. Also, Elon Musk, whether he helped Donald Trump or not, or whether Trump would acknowledge it, Elon Musk's money is very important to Republicans, or became so all of a sudden. There are Republicans in the Senate who are going to be running for re-election again. They're better off listening in some ways to what Elon Musk says about this bill than what President Trump says about it. And that's going to matter in in a way, because this bill is going to go before the Senate. It's going to be chopped to pieces and be sent back to the House, and the House isn't going to like what the Senate does. This has political ramifications for Trump in a way that, it continues the conversation about money poisoning our politics. But Elon Musk has a lot of money.
Yeah, and I want to get to some of the details again with the Epstein files and calling for the impeachment and all this sort of thing. But just to follow up on what you've said, because I think this really is interesting, the leverage that Musk has over people other than Trump and other than is significant because of his power to primary those who are sitting in the Senate now, to those who might be vulnerable to a primary, to in all of these ways that you've mentioned. His money can matter in this flawed political system. I wonder also then, Michael, if his calling out of the bill, again, most Americans, I don't know to what extent, anybody really focuses on the particulars of the bill. As it turns out, most of the people who voted on the bill in the House didn't focus on the particulars. I mean, you have, Marjorie Taylor Greene, to her credit, I suppose, admits that she didn't read it, but if he puts enough of a stink, she loved it, right? But if he puts enough of a stink or a question mark on this bill, just based on the fact that he's calling it bloated and pork-filled, et cetera, doesn't that maybe hurt its chances?
Oh, not maybe. I think that hurts its chances. Look, politicians are a funny bunch. In the best reading of them, and I've said over and over, I like most of them. I think most of them that I've come into contact with are public servants with huge egos, but a lot of them aren't, and that's changed a lot too. They've become caricatures of themselves, and they've used politics as a means of doing other things in life. But that's an argument for another time, or a conversation for another time. The point is that these people look down the road and they look at what is best for them, and that's the ego part of it. And if the richest man in the world, I believe he still is, if he's the richest man in the world, they help him a lot more than a lame, they help a member of Congress a lot more than a lame duck president does. And that's what Trump is, and he certainly will be at the beginning of 2027. That as much as they align themselves with him, and as much as they want the MAGA people to stick around when they next go to stand for re-election, he's not going to be the president anymore. Donald Trump out of office and Donald Trump in off elections has proven that he is not as effective. When he's on the ballot, it helps a lot. He has coattails, but he doesn't really in off-year elections to a great extent anyway. And that's what these people look at. So yes, I think absolutely it's going to impact the votes. It's going to make it easier for someone who is on the fence or is looking at the polling in their state and to vote against this or to make big changes to it.
This is interesting because we're kind of talking about penciling out the politics of it and, who's a winner, who's a loser, et cetera. And Inlays says Musk lost financially and reputationally, while Trump got rich and a better reputation. Musk lost so far, but it won't end that way. It is true that Musk in polling polled, I think, lower than even the Democrats, who are polling in like the high 20s.
No, it's true. That's a very, very astute comment. And the other part of that is with his polling is that when you look at who Musk appealed to, there were a lot of progressives, a lot of environmentalists, a lot of people think great electric cars. This is somebody, I'm sure you, Mark, thought that at one time about Elon Musk. He's a little weird. He got high on Joe Rogan. He speaks kind of funny, but man, is he smart. And look what he's doing to the environment and revolutionizing things. So a lot of those people are the people who got angriest when he changed sides. So the polling is going to reflect deep unpopularity because the people who are participating in those polls are people that would have been in his back pocket anyway.
That's interesting. That really is interesting. And, you remind me that I think Musk is an opportunist. I think if Biden and the Democrats had engaged Musk more positively, he would have gone with them. I think he saw that it was just the opposite, that the Democrats and the Democratic administration, I just mentioned all these government agencies that were going after him from a regulatory standpoint, had turned their back on him, or even worse. And so he felt in Trump, I feel like this is a big part of it.
Maybe
an opportunity.
Yeah, but he's an opportunist. He's also an excellent businessman, and I think that he'd gotten all that he needed to get out of one party, and going the other way with all of the the crypto people that were supporting the Republican Party, when he saw what that could do to his wealth with his coin and all of that, whatever share he has of that Dogecoin, he thought, okay, this is, to your point, an opportunity, but I'm also a businessman, and this is good business for me for the moment.
Elon Musk says Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and, quote, that is the real reason they have not been made public. He posted that. He also posted a call for Donald Trump's impeachment.
Yeah. Well, he thought that impeaching Trump would, like, start getting other people back to into the fold. Maybe he got tired of those bumper stickers on the back of Teslas that sort of tried to get people to distance themselves from Elon. So there could be that, but the Epstein file stuff is certainly salacious and will get people interested again.
Yes, for that reason, because it's salacious. That's exactly it. And Pam Bondi got a letter from strategic Congress people, a bunch of Democratic leadership that is saying, hey, is that true? Is there stuff in there on the president who, is mentioned by Musk? So,
and that will change a lot. Will have, if the Democrats win the House, a lot of the oversight will be pointed toward the Epstein stuff. I don't know how big the legs are that Epstein has, and I'm just not certain that it'll matter, but it may, and that's one of the reasons Republicans really want to keep the House.
Trump says Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do. And he was just crazy. We just he posted that, and he also kind of referenced it in his remarks that we just played for you. Musk did end his time working for the federal government, and that's sort of what was that, like the public exit interview, where he gives him kind of a key to the government and everything. That seemed to be going well, but again, the idea somehow that Trump, I was talking about this in the first hour, Michael, that Trump could pull government contracts, which he's threatened to do. This would suggest sort of that the leverage goes to Trump. I'm just talking about the practical leverage. Okay,
well, leverage always goes to the president at the end of the day, but it's there are many hours till you get to the end of the day, and it makes it very, very difficult for the president, for the administration, when you have the richest man in the world at you in this way constantly, and someone who has influence over both houses of Congress.
And someone who has practical relationships with the U.S. government, not the least of which he mentions this, the SpaceX vehicle that he could decommission and essentially strand your astronauts up in the International Space Station. Musk mentioned this. There's a relationship here, as uncomfortable as it may be, that definitely involves Elon Musk. His Starlink is dominant. And as you know, he shoehorned Starlink in a bigger way into government contracts. Just in his first few months in government, he was able to do that with so many government programs that he was able to kind of bump to the side and allow him and his Starlink folks to be the contractors of record on it.
Yeah. And the other thing is that Elon has allies now, and he has allies because he's the richest man in the world. He has allies within the administration. He has allies in Congress. He has allies in the talk world, from, Stephen Bannon to Stephen Miller. And so what happens to those people and what they're sort of free to say and free to do now is going to be interesting too. And will that sway others in Congress? And so Elon built up a lot of power, with his money, but with his access. And now he's got it, and it's not gone just because he and the president are having a rift. It might even be more pronounced because he doesn't have to be as adherent to what the president's doing.
I want to get to some other stuff, but before I do, this Trevor Starr in Hollywood says, breaking fake news, Dr. Phil has agreed to foster peace talks between Trump and Musk. Oh, isn't that? Yeah, exactly. Musk has 6 times the wealth of the Koch brothers at their height in the aughts. Sadly, Musk will always be a threat to fund primaries in either party, says Depressed Canadian. Thanks for the $10 super chat. I want to get Albert, if you could please, play the Bannon video. Bannon, you mentioned Bannon, and that's what made me think of the fact that we really ought to hear from Bannon, because he's going to war, and he always loves going to war. He feels like what they said about George Patton, like he was happiest when he was in a battle of some kind. And boy, he has really opened the blowtorch on Elon Musk. He's encouraging Trump to do everything from nationalize Trump's rather Musk's business, space business, to deport Musk. Play a little bit of it, if you would, please, Albert.
Where I said, hey, he's an agent of influence of the Chinese Communist Party because of his financial relationship in Tesla. That should be fully investigated. President Trump is a bull. Elon Musk is a baby calf, okay? And now it's time for the good of the country, the republic. Forget MAGA and the Republican Party. This is a national security issue now. It's raised to the level of national security issue of a very unstable individual that's out saying very, I think, dangerous things about the President of the United States. And he has to be investigated, should be investigated immediately. And all contracts associated, all government contracts should be immediately suspended.
By the way, do they play that music under his podcast all the time? I don't watch it regularly.
I don't know. It looked like former Congressman Dave Bratt, the guy who beat Eric Cantor in an upset primary in Virginia a while back on the left there. And I don't know if it was, but it looked like him, which is amazing that some of the people that were sort of legitimate conservatives, whether you liked them or presumably didn't, they're now aligning themselves with the crazy. It's amazing.
So tell me, from a practical standpoint, Trump's not going to seize SpaceX, I don't think, or nationalize SpaceX.
I don't think so. But very truly, I think anything that distracts him is probably productive in its own way, because it keeps him out of the things that matter dearly. We know that he's not going to treat them the way that most Americans want him to. And most people who don't want him to, if they looked at it a little bit, would realize that they want him to stay away as well, but they don't. They're just part of that cult. I think that these sorts of things are good for Donald Trump. It keeps him out of the fray. It gets him into a different fray. It's a distraction. I don't think that's bad.
CC Ryder says Ro Khanna and other weak Democrats are advocating for talks with Musk, with zero renouncing of his Nazi white nationalist views and platforming Nazis. Come on, Democrats, don't compromise on values.
It's a good point, but talks mean that you can talk to him about that too, right? If you don't engage him on that, I'm not saying that that's why they want to talk to him, because I'm not an idiot. I know they want to talk to him about getting his money back involved in the Democratic Party, but to do it without some kind of conversation about it, and about the people he's supported in Europe, the people he's supported in different races from Germany. Merz was in the White House today, to Hungary, to the Netherlands, now collapsing government, and what he's going to do, what he's advocating for there. I mean, there's real reasons to want to distance yourself from this guy. That said, politics is about money until it isn't. And if you can get him in there and you can say, you've got to change on this, or you've got to explain it.
Jim Eaton says, I think SpaceX should be seized. We should never give projects like space to private companies. There's a lot. I would have liked to have seen a private public, at minimum, a private public partnership. So I think there's some truth to that. But let me just, because that was mentioned, this is huge, Michael, what's happening at NASA. They are cutting the NASA budget by 30%. NASA scientists are in a state of limbo. A lot of the offices that NASA scientists work out of have been closed, and career specialists I'm seeing now in this report are now working remotely, awaiting details, and even more unsure about their future at many of these labs that they were kicked out of. So if they close these labs for good, it could jeopardize the value and the country's leadership role in global climate science, many say. But anything with climate, as you know, is on the outs with this administration. But NASA is so much. It's space, it's climate, it's science, it's Earth in so many different ways as it is studied by these brilliant minds. And so apparently NASA is really in something of a free fall.
Yeah, it is. I mean, NASA is a whole different conversation because there were a slew of Democrats over time that were sort of kept quiet by Bill Nelson in the Senate, who thought that NASA was, was over run with cost, and it wasn't cost effective, and that would be a good place to start, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a different conversation. But when you see who has the interests in cutting NASA and making space private, you look at Jeff Bezos and you look at Elon Musk, and then you look at who was part of that administration. So a lot of this stuff, you don't really have to pull back the curtains too far to see what's going on with that. And look, so many departments have been cut: the CDC, the IRS, NASA, all the entire alphabet of government agencies have been cut, and you start to see why when you look at who's involved in it. And I agree. I mean, it's all abhorrent, right? It's all terrible the way that they went in there with this slash and burn mentality, and NASA, like others, is a victim of that.
So the last thing I wanted to address with you is what's happening with the deportations and with Trump's latest pronouncements about blocking the border. And, the immigration problem is so multifaceted. I mean, the southern border is just a small part of it. But his travel ban that goes into effect on Monday is something that hasn't gotten a lot of high-profile blowback. It's he's blocking the entrance into America from a handful. What is it? 17 different countries.
Yeah,
and as I say, it's not receiving much of. I don't think it's getting much high-profile blowback.
It isn't. Well, it's a lot more precise, in fairness, than when he was in his first term and he called it a Muslim ban, right? And just it was so blatant and clear. And this time around, I mean, I'm not obviously defending him. This time around, though, his administration did it in a much more precise way to many countries who a lot of Americans don't realize are big parts of what they determine to be the immigration problem. Places like Chad, right? We don't typically know a lot of Chadians. So when you hear that, you think, oh, okay, it's more precise. It's not all Muslims. But then when you go to Haiti, right, which is one of the problem zones of our hemisphere, and you're saying that there is a ban on Haitians coming in, I mean, then you're starting to hit closer to home. There are massive Haitian communities in this country. It is run by gangs, quite literally. I mean, it is a government that is run by gangs. So getting people out of there, it should be an American, it's an American tenet to get people and save them from what's going on there, the rape, the crime, the extortion, all of it. And so it's not getting the attention, but it's certainly, when you talk about this border stuff, it does work for the administration. So
right,
it definitely changes the channel. Well, things are going poorly on the Hill. My bromance is over with Elon. Let's talk about deportation, get everybody happy again.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I was hinting at, even with the question, that it's a political winner for them because it deals with a lot of specifics that people really aren't aware of, and a lot of countries that people, can't even pronounce. And so for that reason,
look, Chad is easy.
Yeah, Chad's one of the easier ones. Eritrea, I would think of might be hard. I don't even know if some people say Eritrea.
I think they say Eritrea.
Yeah. So there you go. So Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea. These are all places that Americans, I think, are not really relevant to their lives. And so I think that's the reason you're not getting a lot of blowback, right, Michael? Because again, from a political standpoint, it's like, what are you doing?
Right. And again, one of Trump's stock and trades is flooding the zone. Just give you a bunch of stuff and you can't digest all of it. So it's like this big buffet. You take one thing and you go back to your table. And that's one of the things that this administration has done from the very beginning in January.
Your thoughts lastly on the international student targeting. He seems to really be going after international students, certainly at Harvard, right?
Yeah.
but
across
the board.
That spat with Harvard, it is across the board, but it's also something that's part when they're talking about the immigration stuff. It's the stuff that's resonating least, right? So when it's someone you know and they're in trouble, it's much more psychologically different, right? Oh, this person's my classmate. I'm opposed to this. He should not be sent back. She should not be sent back. But if it's sort of ambiguously these people from Chad who are not being let in, well, that's okay. And if the border's flooded, that's okay. We have too many people here. But as soon as it hits home, right? It's like, what do they say? We all hate lawyers till we need one. And that's kind of the thing with immigration. It's when it hits home and when you're exposed to people who are immigrants and successful and lovely and all of that and have families and hardworking, that it changes the dialogue.
Well, I mean, it's so interesting that you point to this stuff because I think, as we've said, it politically doesn't land. And yet, as you've suggested earlier in our conversation, the salacious nature of the Epstein stuff, that does land. So, in terms of importance, you can tell me what's more important, but I think that politically important is what we've talked about, which is if you could really demonstrate that Trump is a part of this whole Epstein machine, it would be politically damaging, I think, to Trump. But
it would be. I don't hold your breath just yet. Democrats don't have the power investigation in the House,
right? So that can be buried.
They're the only ones. They're the only ones.
In 2 years, who knows what will. Right.
Who knows what will happen? We have 48 seconds left, Mark.
We do 48 seconds for sports. So please go.
So one thing, a complaint that my segment is happening as the French Open is being played. Mark, are you recording it? You don't know?
I'm recording it. Please do not. Please do
I will not say anything. Djokovic and Sinner are playing. That's all I'll say.
I mean, it's exactly.
Albert, they played a basketball game last night. We can move on from that. But
wait a minute. That had one of the most incredible finishes.
Mark, it's Albert.
I'm sorry, it is your segment. You're right. Go ahead.
So I don't know what Mark was talking about. We'll buy the time back. But there's
you're reclaiming your time?
Yes, I'm reclaiming my time from the gentleman from California. The Edmonton Oilers looked pretty good, didn't they, Albert?
Oh, they look great, and they look like they have composure compared to last year. They look more confident. They know what they're getting themselves into this year, and it's kind of scary because they have two of probably the best players in the NHL on the same team.
Right, and maybe the best player in the world, and maybe one day I would submit we love hyperbole in this world now, but he probably will go down as the best player who ever played. But he's got to win a Stanley Cup, and he was one step closer there. But the passing, the elegance, if you don't watch hockey, you should watch at least this guy play hockey because it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone to take it all in.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to take it all in. Like I said, there was an Amazon series that covered last year's, all the drama last year, and it's kind of added up to this. So
yeah, it really has. So it's pretty good. So watch that. And then what else? What else do we have to cover, Albert, sports wise? Was there another?
Oh my God! I think we're done. That's like well over 48 seconds.
Great NBA game last night.
The NBA finish is incredible. I mean, that game looked like
it
was dominated
good
by.
To be here. I love coming in here. Thank you. I'd like them.
Michael, thank you.
Kim. Happy birthday, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
How does the internet work?
All right. Good. Bye-bye, Michael. Michael Shure, everybody. Yeah. He's our favorite contributor. And this is the follow-up Depressed Canadian. I know we're just seeing this with Michael's departure, but Oilers controlled the third period, most of overtime. McDavid's got, you can read this. I don't,
That's Mike Modano. Mike Modano's speed, Lemieux's hands, and Gretzky's vision.
Wow.
He has more than Modano's speed. He's like, if you watch him play hockey, he's clearly the fastest guy out there.
Wow.
Great watch.
Man.
Albert, thank you.
Well, very good. The commish.
He's a division rival, too, of my Sharks, so I don't really enjoy it too much. It's kind of like having Shohei Ohtani in the NL West on the Dodgers as a Giants fan, so I could appreciate it. I'm not going to root for it completely.
Why doesn't Michael want to talk about the NBA? Asks D. Elliott. Well, the reason is he somehow feels that by neglecting the NBA or any other talk of another sport, he somehow buoys talk about hockey, which is what he wants to talk about. So that's why this incredible comeback last night in the NBA, something he doesn't even want to touch on. So it's weird, DLA, but that's his little running gag, okay? So I've got my running gag with his mug, and Michael's got his running gag with not wanting to talk about any other sport but hockey. Great segment. Michael deserves 2 mugs, says Jim Eaton. Yeah, it's probably true, but he won't get any.
Good day, sir.
So, yeah, so that is just
You get nothing.
Exactly. Give the man a mug already, says Jose. Yeah. All right. Now what do we do, birthday girl? It's time for Snyder, who's just in the studio. I didn't realize you're going to be here today. This is great that you're here. I thought you were going to be on remote. This is terrific. I love that you're here, Michael. It's very good that you'll be in studio.
I see that Michael has a lot of movies to talk about today.
He has a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of stuff today, Michael.
I
chunk.
do. Honestly, I'm in Los Angeles right now, and I'm going to be back in San Francisco. But as long as I'm here, I just love getting together with you here in the studio. And people can't see it because we don't have the camera on me, but we're both in maroon for some bizarre reason. It's like we're members of the cult, but we're not.
It is true. Well, I love seeing you too. But let's be quick about it, okay, Michael?
What?
All right. I am then on Kim's advice. I am going to move straight to the Culture Blaster. Are you good with that, Kamish? If I go right to Michael Snyder?
I mean, it's Kim's birthday, and that's what Kim wants. So I feel like we kind of have to.
No, that's true.
Bend the knee here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yes. Well.
All right. Then moving on, we will.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Fridays, we like to, hang about, what was this segment, about 10, 15 minutes we're going to do?
15, 20, 30, it depends. It's open-ended. It's
No, we're not doing 20 or 30. All right. So anyway,
we'll see.
We like to hang with somebody who knows this world of music, of movies, of streaming, all of the magic of entertainment. He comes every Friday to this show, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster? Hello, Michael.
What a momentous episode of the Mark Thompson Show today. Not only are we celebrating Pride Month.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Pride to all my LGBTQ plus friends and those of you in the Mark Thompson Show audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's the anniversary of D-Day, and it's Kim's birthday. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays, Kim.
Happy birthday again.
I love Tesla.
We love Tesla.
You are a savvy, feisty dynamo and integral to the success of the show. But let's get down to what's really special about today. It's the first triple Michael episode of the show. Dr. Michael Shure, and yours truly.
Wow.
All on the same Friday installment of the MTS, Michael to the Third Power.
There's never been anything like this.
We could try ignoring it, sir.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hey,
There's never been anything like it. Sorry, Albert, I stepped on you.
Speaking of D-Day, I can't wait until the next D-Day.
There's never been anything like this.
The next D-Day is going to be when our democracy is divested of a certain dastardly dog. It won't be nothing but celebration in the streets, I think. But and one more quick D-Day note.
Yes.
I want to recommend a movie called The Last Rifleman, which I've talked about before, but it's very, very timely to watch it this weekend. It stars Pierce Brosnan in what I initially thought of as a career-capping performance, one of the best of his life, playing a veteran in his 90s who tries to attend the 75th anniversary celebration of D-Day on Normandy Beach. It is a wonderful movie, a bravura performance. If you've enjoyed Pierce Brosnan as gang lord Conrad Harrington in the current show Mobland, which I highly recommend, he is wonderful in The Last Rifleman.
Well, bravura is a ding word. If I have my ding available.
Yeah. I know that Mark is looking forward to watching.
By the way, you're telling me that Pierce Brosnan plays a 90-year-old man?
Yes, and they have to do it with makeup and such.
Sure.
But he is.
What?
It's an amazing. I can't believe you haven't already seen The Last Rifleman.
I just made a note. I'm going to watch it this weekend.
It's of historical note, and what a great.
I'm going to say something now, and I don't know how this is going to go down. I just speak, Kim. I don't have any manicured or choreographed comments. You know this, Michael.
Yeah.
I just speak from the hip. I speak honestly. I think Pierce Brosnan is like disarmingly handsome. I'm a straight man, but I'm telling you, that guy is insanely good looking.
And now he is a silver fox.
And the idea somehow that he could, play a 90-year-old, and then also obviously in flashback, you see the younger man. Wow.
Mostly you see him as a 90-year-old.
Girl.
And
Don't even play.
If you have not watched Mobland, and I know how much Courtney loves the true crime and such, and Mobland is one of the best crime dramas on television, starring Pierce Brosnan as gang lord Conrad Harrington. I just want to point that out.
I have one other thing about Pierce Brosnan, because I love cutting you off.
You can't stop yourself.
I will tell you that I watched a movie on DVD many years ago called The Tailor of Panama.
Excellent.
It's a terrific movie, and Pierce Brosnan is in it, along with Jeffrey Rush, I believe.
Yeah.
So you got great performances.
Amazing performances.
But here's the point. That after the movie, I liked it so much that I went and watched the movie again with the director's now running commentary as I watched the movie. And one of the things that the director said was Pierce Brosnan was so handsome. He plays a bad guy in the movie.
He does.
That we tried to dirty him up because he's a bad guy. Like, we didn't want him to be, so he wasn't clean shaven a lot of the time. We made him a smoker. We did these things that kind of tried to make, and the director's talking, and he said, whatever we did, we couldn't dirty him up. The guy's handsome no matter what. So I'm not alone in my mad, in the crush I have, the man crush I have on Pierce Brosnan.
If you have not seen him in Mobland, and again, he and Helen Mirren give performances that will have your jaw crashing to the floor.
Oh, yeah. Albert has it up now. There
Mobland,
you go.
fantastic. I recommended it before on the Mark Thompson Show. You may have been off on one of your cruises. I don't remember. But hey, Mark, I know we got to get to movies. I know you're looking forward to watching the major blockbuster this weekend that's coming out, Trumpzilla versus King Musk. Cities will crumble. Nations will be destroyed. I know you're going to be tuning in. But as for what's in the theaters, let's get down to it. From the world of the exceedingly and almost hilariously violent John Wick movie franchise, that's 4 films strong and counting, comes a spinoff, Ballerina. And it's, pardon the reference to a classic movie, all about Eve, a plucky orphan girl who sees her father killed by the cold leader of a group of deadly hired guns. So in the bloody aftermath, she's rescued by Winston, the man who runs the Assassin's No-Kill Refuge, the Continental, in the John Wick movies, and who leaves the child in the hands of a calculating woman in charge of what appears to be a knockoff of Marvel Comics' Russian school for killers, the Red Room. So there, that plucky orphan girl is trained in ballet and the art of murder as part of a crime family in conflict with other crime families on the international scene. If you've watched the John Wick movies, there are these different phalanxes of crime and killing and what have you.
Phalanx is a ding word.
So eventually Eve grows up, and seeking the people who killed her daddy, she's going to travel to a remote Alpine village populated by nothing but assassins and led by a mysterious figure known as the Chancellor. And of course, hell breaks loose. Although they called it Ballerina, they could have just as easily called it Jane Wick in Wicktown. I mean, there's bullets flying and the whole deal. That might have been a little too on the nose. I'm surprised that no one has yet to publish a Wikipedia, by the way, all about these movies and John Wick. Anyway, back to Ballerina. There is no need for any brain flexing. It's just more action and creative violence, with the difference being that the lovely and limber Ana de Armas is at center stage as Eve, the titular dancer and assassin, instead of Keanu Reeves as Wick. And he, of course, is the seemingly invulnerable, noble hitman with a code. And insofar as the bulk of this takes place around the same time as the third Wick movie, we do get the awesome Ian McShane as Winston and the dearly departed Lance Reddick in what may be his final screen role as the concierge at the Continental. Upping the star power, Keanu Reeves is also here in a supporting role as the Wickster himself, plus Angelica Houston, Gabriel Byrne, Catalina Sandino Moreno, and Norman Reedus. You know him as Daryl, the good old boy hero of The Walking Dead. And he seems kind of a welcome presence generally, but he's a little miscast here. It's all about the endless parade of shootings, stabbings, slicing, dicing, strangulations, and so forth. I know you're going to remember that my buddy Hugh Brown brought a clicker to the screening of John Wick 4 to get an accurate count of the on-screen slayings, which I believe topped out at 124. I'm not sure if Ballerina achieved those, quote, heights end quote. But if you like this sort of thing, and millions do, there are plenty of dead bodies piling up at the hands of Eve, John, and their colleagues and enemies. It works for what it is, even if it recycles familiar tropes. I kind of prefer the recent assassin free-for-all on an airplane, fight or flight. But this, it's going to do well, and it is what it is, as the people say. It is in theaters.
Man, it's interesting because you sort of talk about the fact that it's wildly derivative, but it also sounds as though you kind of liked it.
There's a visceral thrill to these movies, and I know it's awful, and I've written about the fact that this says something very, very upsetting about our culture, that these things are popular, that horror movies are so popular. In any event, all I can tell you is that it's more of the same. It's John Wick with only a little bit of Wick.
Yeah.
Little bit of Wick.
I like the notion of a ballerina who's also an experienced killer. That it has its own appeal.
Anyway,
The Life of Chuck. I'm seeing you're gonna review that. What is that about?
Director and screenwriter Mike Flanagan has proven to be a modern master of horror and suspense. He's done these really powerful and frightening miniseries. The Fall of the House of Usher, The Haunting of Hill House, and Midnight Mass, all available on Netflix. And he's also done feature films that include Dr. Sleep and Oculus. And I bring up Flanagan's filmography because he has once again adapted something by author Stephen King, who wrote the novel Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining, by the way. So this new project, The Life of Chuck, is Flanagan's adaptation of a King novella. And considering the horrific tone of their respective projects, because there's a lot of horror, one might assume The Life of Chuck is another scary skin crawler, but one would be wrong. The Life of Chuck may address our fears of mortality, I would say, but it's far more uplift than upchuck, as it tells the story of its hero, an ordinary man named Charles Chuck Krantz, in reverse, showing how his simple acts of kindness leave a mark on people that he encounters. With some there are fantasy and sci-fi elements here, and they add shards of kind of magic to this. I'd call it a celebration of a common man, and it's kind of almost a contemporary take on Frank Capra's classic "It's a Wonderful Life." And while it won't attain that movie's immortality, The Life of Chuck is really okay on its own terms, and it's aided by a script that's faithful in structure and tone to King's story, and by a wonderful cast led by Tom Hiddleston as the adult Chuck, an accountant who reluctantly follows the career path of his grandfather, who raised him with his grandmother after the untimely passing of Chuck's mom and dad when Chuck was just a little boy. As Chuck grows up, he finds love, faces tragedy, and somehow muddles through it all. His impact on others turns out to be kind of extraordinary. So I want to give high marks to Mark Hamill. I didn't even recognize him He plays Chuck's grandfather and mentor. Mia Sara is the grandmother. And kudos to Chiwetel Ejiofor and Karen Gillan as a star-crossed couple whose relationship is somehow affected by Chuck. You've got Matthew Lillard and Carl Lumbly. They're all really good in this thing. There's a point of confusion because the ages of certain characters seem to fluctuate over the course of the film, but this is a fable, and if The Life of Chuck is a little overblown and isn't as profound as it wants to be, and some cynics are probably going to deride how earnest it takes on the nature of humanity, it's got a lot of heart, and it's going to make you smile and tear up here and there, unless you're some kind of monster who belongs in the narratives that King and Flanagan usually produce. The Life of Chuck is in select theaters, but I expect it's going to open wider in coming weeks. I can feel it.
You like it. Okay.
I did. And, again, people might whine a little bit because there's saccharine elements to some, you know. It depends.
What else do you have for us, Michael Snyder, a great culture blaster?
Of course, a week can't go by without another genuine horror movie being released, and Dangerous Animals is a doozy.
When did horror blow up as this genre that now is just so chock full of options, contemporary options?
I think when Donald Trump ascended to the presidency.
All right, don't smart-ass me.
I don't know. Anyway, the movie's called Dangerous Animals, and it weds the serial killer genre with Jaws. So if shark attacks make your blood run cold, Dangerous Animals may be hazardous to your health. In director Sean Byrne's taut and legitimately shocking movie, a young female surfer who goes by the name of Zephyr, just Zephyr, is on Australia's sun-kissed Gold Coast, presumably in search of the perfect wave. Dangerous Animals reinforces the idea established in the recent Nicolas Cage thriller The Surfer that Australia is a surfer's paradise, except for the evil people trying to terrorize you. So Jay Courtney is a hoot as Tucker, who is an evil, shark-obsessed captain whose boat takes the tourists out for the sort of excursions you see on Shark Week, where people get in protective cages and are lowered into the water to get up close and personal to those toothy, seagoing, killing machines.
Yeah, that's a thing, isn't it?
It is. I guess that's one way to make a living in the case of Tucker, but his real intentions are to torment his clients and then turn them into fish food for the ruthless, finny undersea creatures he worships. In decidedly insane fashion. When he snatches up Zephyr to turn her into a chum for Sir Bites-a-Lot and the rest of the sharks, Tucker may have bitten off more than he can chew.
Oh my God!
Anyway,
I tried to look the other way on Sir Bites-a-Lot, and then he
I had to
hit
do
me
it
with a left hook.
Dangerous Animals rocked. It's really good of kind, as I like to say. Courtney, not our Courtney here, but Jay Courtney, who often plays a tough but sometimes heroic type, gives a totally chilling performance here that swings from jovial to reflective to full-bore madman. And a young American actress by the name of Hassie Harrison is more than a match for him as Zephyr, but can she survive swimming with sharks, so to speak? You'd have to watch Dangerous Animals to find out. If you dare, it's in theaters, and eventually, I presume it's going to be on the horror streaming service Shudder.
All right. What else do you have?
Oh, I have another good one in terms of the sort of timing on this, and you'll understand when I tell you. It's another horror movie. Well, kind of. It's called I Don't Understand You, and it's actually a comedy with some elements of horror, as Dom and Cole, a married gay couple, played by Nick Kroll and Andrew Rannells. So see, there's a Pride Month tie-in here.
Oh, yeah.
They go on a vacation to Italy to celebrate their wedding anniversary. And meanwhile, back in the States, a young woman played by the lovely Amanda Seyfried is on the verge of giving birth to a baby that the guys are slated to adopt after years of waiting for the right potential mother to come along. So the Americans' itinerary includes a side trip to enjoy a special dinner in the rural farmhouse of a renowned chef who is an elderly woman who has agreed to come out of retirement to prepare the meal for Dom and Cole.
This is in Australia?
No, this is in Italy. Remember, it's
Italy.
it's
Okay,
an
sorry.
Italian vacation. The sharks are in Australia.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I know.
I
Anyway,
rotate the globe. Oh, go ahead.
when the things start to go wrong, that's when the movie goes wrong in a way. The tonal shifts here are so jarring in the film that they kind of felt gratuitous at times, and the couple begins to act in such a strange and amoral way that it becomes a little off-putting and not particularly funny to me. I mean, they seem sincere in their desire to be parents, and then they're awful to one another, and their response to an ugly situation that develops is even worse. I mean, admittedly, what makes people laugh is such a subjective thing, and there's considerable, cringy comedy of discomfort out there that does break me up. I've talked about it here on the air. I've written about it in the Voice of SF. This only generated some fitful chuckles from me. And Kroll and Rannells are terrific. They have great timing. I believe them as a couple. I like their work in other things, but the nasty aspects of I Don't Understand You, which was written and directed by the team of David Joseph Craig and Brian Crano, kind of undermined it for me. Again, this is one of those things, and it's uncommon because it's an indie thing. It's got all the right elements as far as I'm concerned, but this is one of those where I'd have to say, not terrible.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite make it, though. Yeah. It's only okay.
Yeah. Now, quickly, I want to mention two other films that are available online as streaming options and not in theaters. And I think that this is the time. There's an animated anthology set in the Predator universe. It's called Predator, Killer of Killers, and it consists of three tales of three human warriors in three different eras on Earth: a Viking queen, a ninja in feudal Japan, and an American pilot in World War II, and they go up against the vicious interstellar hunters known as Predators. And all three segments dovetail in a very explosive finale. The animation is glorious. The action is nonstop. It was co-directed by Dan Trachtenberg and Joshua Wasong, but it didn't really linger with me much after watching it, and maybe it was due to the episodic aspects. And this is in a counterpoint to the very potent, straightforward live-action Predator Prey, which preceded it and was directed by Trachtenberg, who did this. And he's also directing the upcoming live-action Predator Badlands, which I'm looking forward to. And despite any quibbles, this is pretty badass and a little something extra for the fans of the franchise. It is on Hulu. And I want to wrap up with something you mentioned earlier in the week. It's a movie called Mountainhead, and I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it or
No,
not.
I was reading about what I was talking about earlier in the week on this show, what they did to find the locations that would be right for this story that they're telling.
Yeah,
which is like these uber rich guys. It's like the Google, it's the tech billionaires.
It's the Billionaires Boys Club Tech Bro Division. And this is written and directed by Jesse Armstrong, who was the creator of Succession. He co-created Peep Show, which is one of my absolute favorite sitcoms of all time. He's clearly a brilliant writer, and he's got a stinging point of view. He did a movie about terrorists in London, a comedy called Four Lions, which is worth seeking out. This is not quite as good as that, but there is something really incredibly topical about these four tech bros who are kind of masters of their own universes and have long been kind of a team and, buddies rooting one another on and in competition. And at one point, these guys are espousing how much each of them are worth. And it's kind of a pissing match, if you will. And what's really kind of effective about it is one of the guys has not quite reached $1 billion. And so he's like the poor relation. They call him Soup or Superman or Soup Kitchen because he's the least successful of the three, and it becomes a point of contention between them. Steve Carell plays the old hand of the quartet, but we also get playing these other significant characters, Corey Michael Smith as the most powerful, very Zuckerberg-like. He has an AI that is actually causing trouble worldwide because of deep fakes, and that becomes incredibly topical in the context of the movie. And he's detestable, as you might guess. And Rami Youssef is a guy who is he's one of the four, and he's in kind of a really negative relationship with Venus, the one I mentioned before. And finally, you get Super. Jason Schwartzman plays the hapless. He's incredibly wealthy. He has millions and millions of dollars, but he's hapless by comparison to these other guys. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of a night of horror. Not horror as in slashings and goring, but it's kind of a night of horror in this beautiful, getaway that belongs to Super. And I thought it was worth watching. And, and it's
Carell, Schwartzman, Youssef, and who else?
And this actor, Corey Michael Smith. And they're excellent. And you'll hate them all. I'm sure you'll hate them all after watching it.
That's part of the deal. Right?
It's part of the deal, and it is available right now on HBO Max.
All right.
Which is awesome to be able to see.
I would also mention HBO Max. I love the Pee-wee documentary. It's 2 parts, really great. And then I would see the Allie Willis documentary. And as it turns out, you'll see a lot of overlap between Pee-wee and Allie. They hung out, both collectors. And you'll even see some of the same people show up in both. Really special. I learned so much about Pee-wee. And what they did to Pee-wee is unconscionable.
Exactly.
They ruined that poor guy's life, and he was a wondrous fountain of creativity.
The love that people still have for him and the influence he's had on other performers is hopefully long-lived. And I do want to point out that I did extol the virtues of the Allie Willis documentary here on the Mark Thompson Show.
Yes, you did, sir.
And I still believe that it's worth your time. And she was, I'm so glad I got a chance to meet her on a number of occasions, and she was a buddy of yours. That whole group of creatives, the Groundlings and Allie and all the people that hung out with them, they still are incredibly loved in the Los Angeles area and known worldwide for their talent.
Yeah, good stuff. Michael shared a lot today, and I will review his reviews just so that you keep track of this. Mountainhead, the Steve Carell, Jason Schwartzman, Rami Youssef, Corey Michael Smith offering. They play the super rich, like the billionaire class, although one of them isn't quite at $1 billion apparently, and that becomes sort of a plot point or a dialogue point. Michael liked it. Said it's kind of funny, also it's dark.
It's dark, and it's incredibly timely, like I said when we were talking about it.
And Predator, Killer of Killers, the animated offering, 3 different tales. Dan Trachtenberg, who's also has a history with Predator.
Yeah, he did
the
Prey.
live-action movie.
Prey could be the best of the Predator films since the original one.
And Michael, kind of like this.
I liked it.
It's three different tales, again, animated.
It's an adjunct, I think.
Yeah. I Don't Understand You. The comedy with horror elements. Nick Kroll and Andrew Rannells is a surrogate mother. They're in rural
Italia.
Parts of Italy. Not as funny as Michael would like. Good performances from Rannells and from Kroll, but only okay. But it's in the not bad category, but also / only okay.
Yeah, the tone shifts are really, my head
Tough
was
to take.
like a swivel when I was watching it.
Dangerous Animals, the horror offering, where adventurers who want to swim with the sharks may turn into shark chum because of some kind of devious, dastardly plan.
I liked it.
You like that chummy kind of horror thing?
For what that stuff is, I think this really kicked butt, and Jay Courtney makes for a really detestable villain in this thing. So there's that.
I like the slug line. Those who are just listening, you can't see this. We have the poster up. Dangerous Animals, you're safer in the water.
Well,
yeah.
The most dangerous animal is man. We know that.
Exactly. That's the thing. The Life of Chuck. Mike Flanagan directs this adaptation of Stephen King's novella. It involves mortality issues. Tom Hiddleston's in it with Mark Hamill, who apparently turns in a great performance.
Beautiful performance, and Hiddleston is wonderful. You may know him from The Night Manager or his portrayal of Loki, but this is a wonderful platform for him as well.
Matthew Lillard as well. It's in select theaters, and Michael likes it. The Life of Chuck. And he opened with Ballerina, the sweet tale of a orphan child who learns ballet and the art of murder.
What?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Travels to find the people who killed her father. And isn't that the best use of the training that she's gotten? I hope after she gets the people who killed her father, she'll go on to some real ballet work. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Well, she's on point, but the point is a knife.
All right. Michael, I adore our visits, and sadly, this one has wound down and is over.
Well, I'm also glad to be here. For those of you who give a darn, there's lots going on in both San Francisco and Los Angeles this weekend. I had 3 art openings, Corey Helford Gallery, La Luz de Jesus, and Think Space, and I'm going to go see one of the most popular LA bands of the new wave era, the Furies, tomorrow night at the Maui Sugar Mill. But for the rest of you people,
amazing.
I have a busy
for the rest of you people,
yeah, you've really...
I'm looking forward to being back here with Mark next Friday. And go Giants! They're playing the Bravos, the Braves, tonight at Oracle Park. And anyway, I guess that's
very impressive, Michael. I thought it was a thorough report, and it was complete with a Kim shout out, as it is Kim's birthday.
She's a queen.
She is our queen. Michael comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
See y'all.
Should mention that if you want, and you should want, to read Michael, because he's a brilliant writer, you can read him in thevoicesf.org. Thevoicesf.org. He writes about things other than movies. And sometimes he writes about movies, but a lot of the time he writes about other sort of musings that he might have. Well, Kim, I don't want to keep you from your
The Mark Thompson Show.
Your day of birthday. We do have some breaking news. It's pretty big. Yeah.
It is. Remember when President Trump said of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we don't want him back? I could pick up the phone and make it happen. I don't want him back. Well, he's coming back. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the breaking news is that he is now on his way back to America. He will be facing criminal charges when he gets here. There are sources telling ABC News and other outlets that Mr. Abrego Garcia will face charges for illegally transporting migrants within the United States. We do know that more than 2 months after the Trump administration admitted that they made a mistake in deporting him, he will be brought back to America. So,
well, I, as you know, like to own when I'm wrong. And I said he would never be brought back because he is a cause celeb, and I felt it was something that, because of what Kim just mentioned, they didn't want to do, which was admit a mistake and then have a gaggle of press people around this guy. But he is coming back. Now, to be fair to me, he's not coming back in any kind of way that, hey, our bad, we're sorry type thing. They're coming back to, I think, vilify him and put him on trial.
My bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But there'll be, I think they're going to, I think nothing good is ahead for him, but he is coming back. And certainly had he remained down there, nothing good was going to happen to him.
He was in that CCOT prison, and supposedly once you go into that place, you never come out again.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to see him come out of it. The plane hasn't landed yet, but he's supposedly on the way back. Well, hopefully he gets back here safely. And then let's find out, is he a criminal? Is he a gang member? Is he here in an undocumented fashion? Should he indeed be deported? The one thing I can say is that with the court saying that he needs to be able to get his day in court and due process, it is uplifting to see that the rules, the rule of law is being followed here.
Well, it's a victory for due process, is what you're saying. Yeah, that there is that. You're right. Thank you for that. I mean, it's pretty big. I'll remind you, I have another prediction, which also may be wrong. My big prediction of the day is that there will be a rapprochement. There will be a thawing of relations between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I think both guys have too much at stake for it to continue this way, but we will see. Maybe I'll be wrong about that as well. Again, I think I'm wrong, but technically he's coming back. But I think with the, in a way they're bringing him back to crucify him. You know what I mean? So it's sort of a, but I'll take the L as a loss. CC Ryder says, how about a theme for each Snyder weekly update? 1 week comedy, next week mystery, etc. Well, the theme is that these are all the latest movies.
There's a new one that are coming out this week. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the idea of doing a separate one-off with him, maybe a weekend type drop for a genre-related thing. So that's actually not a bad idea. I think
maybe we should do like a Halloween horror movies of all time special with him. That'd be fun.
Yeah. There is, I believe, a video dropping this weekend, fresh content, so watch for that. So all of that continues. Do we have anything else I have to do here, Albert?
We have a lot of people to thank, and I don't know which ones you've gone through and which ones you haven't already. So I'll let you click on those.
I will look then, and I will tell you. James W. says, here's for a Michael mug. If he doesn't have it next week, can I get a refund? That's from Michael Shure.
That's right.
Maybe I'll give him a mug. It's just, but it's so much fun not to give him a mug. Gwen Roberts, $5 super sticker. Thank you, Gwen. Yeah, appreciate that. And a big shout out to you. Really appreciate the support. Everybody who supports this show, Patreon and PayPal, you're about to see the names of everyone who supports us every month. And we update those names once a month. So if you're part of our Patreon PayPal community, you're just jumping on, they will be updated. That list will be updated with new names and additional names, augmented with your name. And if it doesn't happen, write me a note and we'll talk to Tony. But he does do it diligently at the beginning of every month. Depressed Canadian says, Michael, and this is for you, Albert, the commission. This is a hockey-related comment. Go ahead.
I could just interpret this. This guy's just hoping for the Oilers to win. A depressed Canadian. Hoping to not be depressed. And,
well, again, it was $50. I think we should read the comment. Michael, Stu Skinner will need to hold down the fort tonight because the Panthers are going to hit the Oilers with everything in the first 10 minutes. The Oilers cannot give them any room. So look for Kane and Perry to explode in secondary scoring. Oilers in 6 is what he's saying. So as Albert says it, bottom line, Oilers win it. But
the Florida Panthers, probably the best complete team in the NHL, and they come at you in waves. That's what they're just survive the first 10 minutes and go from there.
Dillette gets you a birthday 20. Happy birthday, Kim. We love you. Wow, isn't that great? Yeah. Birthday shout out, a $20 super chat. Thank you, Dillette. Big supporter of our show, and very special always to hear from Dillette.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I don't know. I think that Kim's birthday could make me tear up. Depressed Canadian says, Pierce Brosnan became a better actor after he stopped playing Bond, but he was too pretty to play Bond. I thought he was perfect for James Bond, honestly. I mean, Bond was handsome. That's part of the game. You know, I think a lot of
handsome,
things,
charming, always gets the girl.
Yeah,
You know?
I think Pierce Brosnan was right with it. But Pierce and Sean Connery are my two man crushes, says Scott Rittenberg, the $5 super chat. Pierce is 007, but Sean is Alexander the Great. Coincidence that they are also 007. Yeah. Very, very cool. And happy birthday, Kim, says Joy.
Big shout out.
With a
Oh,
$10
thanks,
super
Joy.
chat. Really, really
Thank
quick.
you.
And then finally, Depressed Canadian. Wow, Depressed Canadian supporting the show almost single-handedly from north of the border. Although I think Depressed Canadian doesn't Depressed Canadian live in America, but is a Depressed Canadian? I've lost the plot on that. Maybe someone can find out.
It's still a Canadian dollar donation, so maybe. Maybe he's still up north.
So he is in Canada. Okay. A quick note: McDavid's. This is also hockey. I love Canadians are so into hockey. They just can't imagine that we're not as into hockey as they are.
Oh, well,
a quick note: McDavid's definitely faster than Modano, but overall he's got his form and his speed on breakaways. It's like Pavel Bure, is that how he says it?
Yeah, Pavel Bure is correct.
But his back checking is like Modano. McDavid is the best and most well-rounded player in history. Well, that
wow.
Yeah. Would you agree with that? That McDavid is
definitely.
Really, really great.
Offensively and defensively fast is what he's basically saying.
Depressed Canadian, thanks for all the hockey news. Geez, that was quite impressive. And
Michael Shure, Michael Shure wasn't even here, so carrying the torch.
Next time we'll have to, exactly, carrying the torch after Michael's left. Fun fact, says CC, Sean Connery never graduated from high school. Was a dropout.
Really?
I didn't know that. Wow.
Hot people always make it somehow, you know.
Hot people make it, and that I think is a great note to go out on, Albert. Very,
Perfect.
very. Remember, we used to have the wisdom of Albert. What happened with that?
Yeah.
I ran out of wisdom, maybe.
Never.
We used to. Albert would once in a while come up with something like that, and we had Shadow actually cut a special drop. The wisdom of Albert. Today he hasn't come up with a good one in a while, but today was a nugget. What was it? Hot people always what? Make it?
Oh, hot people always make it somehow.
Hot people always. Everybody have a great weekend. Kim, happy birthday. She has the after party live going on, and I guess it's a muted.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
But it's very, very exciting nonetheless. A big week next week, so with a lot of guests, great guests coming through. And Shadow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone. We are out of time. Until Monday. Bye-bye.